Well, good morning. Welcome to Momentum Mondays. I am excited. It's another beautiful, beautiful Monday morning, and I have the honor and privilege of introducing to you a phenomenal woman, someone who is known as a professional coach, a role model, mentor, leader, national speaker, vice president of human resources and corporate America, and many others. But she says her most important titles are wife and mom. She has helped me and hundreds of women across the country become better and stronger. I am so pumped up to introduce the visionary and host behind this call. Good morning, Jill Green. Are you out there?
Good morning, Lynette. Are you ready this morning?
Ready to rock and roll. Let's go.
Well, folks, I want to say good morning, and welcome to Momentum Mondays. My name is Jill Green, 416, the host of the call that's designed to wake you up, shake you up, and take you up to new levels in your life, your career, your business, and your dreams. I'd like to introduce to you a few of my amazing co-hosts this morning. First up, we have Miss Michelle Washington. She's the founder of Michelle Marie Fashion Agency, visionary and Women of More campaign, all the way from Newark, Delaware. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Jill. Good morning, everyone. I am so intentional of executing everything today. Woo-hoo! Yeah!
Okay, good morning, Michelle. We also have Miss Danita Washington. She is the founder of Girls Rock and Girls Rock Summer Camp. And I just want to say I'm so proud of this woman. I'd like to salute her this morning. She's from my hometown, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Just featured on News 15, advertising her Girls Rock Conference. It is amazing. If you have not registered your young ladies or sponsored one, folks, you're missing out. We have a commitment to our community, and I'm so proud of this young lady. Registration deadline is March 11th. Don't miss it. Say good morning to Miss Danita. Good morning, Danita.
Well, good morning, all Momentum Monday movers and shakers. I'm a little under the weather, but I am going to continue to lead with love. Welcome, everybody.
Absolutely, Danita. Thank you. And you already heard her amazing voice, Miss Lynette Rogers. She's the owner of Virtually Yours, founder of Saving Our Youth, author of #1 best-selling book, Mission Unstoppable, that she penned with Les Brown and George Frazier, all the way from Detroit, Michigan. Say hello to Lynette. Good morning, Lynette.
Good morning, Jill, and I am so excited to kill procrastination with all the Momentum Monday champions because the future is now. I'm pumped up, and I'm ready. Y'all better watch out.
Absolutely. Watch out, folks. We're going to be here right here every single Monday morning to make sure that your Mondays will never be the same. If you'd like to dialogue with us, go ahead and join our Momentum Monday Facebook discussion group and make your comments or ask your questions, or you can hashtag something that you like that you hear us say, but you have to request permission to join the group, so go do that now. And I want to just say, we got some folks in the house today. We got Florida, we got Georgia, we got Delaware, Indiana, Michigan, Pennsylvania, California, Texas, Wisconsin, Alabama. Oh, my goodness. People are on fire this morning. And, folks, I want to say thank you for pulling the trigger. We are in trigger madness right now on Momentum Monday. 30 days of pull the trigger like never before. And I want to give a shout-out to all of you who have posted in our discussion group every single day safely about pulling the trigger. We're talking about execution. We're talking about making it happen. But today, we have a very special call for you. And I cannot wait to introduce the one who's going to lead our discussion today. Her name is Miss Dawn Roseman. She is a phenomenal, beautiful, amazing woman, a partner in a major law firm, a writer, a keynote speaker, the creator of RAIN. She hosts RAIN Tables, RAIN Class, RAIN Talks. She makes it rain wherever she goes, and she's going to drop some amazing raindrops on us this morning. And all the way from my hometown, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Good morning, Dawn.
Good morning. So you already know. You already know how excited I am. It is raining in Fort Wayne. It's about to be raining on this call wherever you are. I promise you, if you lean in, I am so excited. You know, I used to run track back when people were, less fast than they are right now. And you have just handed me the baton though, and it's about to be on. So let's get it. If you spend any time with me at all, 5 minutes, you will get from me If you don't, I'm not doing my job. But I dare say you will get from me that I know that I was created to reign. I know that it is my passion, my purpose to convince you of the same. I believe that about you. So that's what we really kind of talking about this morning. We are talking about this morning knowing and honoring our worth. To reign means to win, to overcome, to dominate, to ascend, to be on top, not beneath. You're a royalty. That's what it means. But I started looking around, Jill, and I started looking at some of the posts we got in our group, and it was revealed to me that I think a lot of people don't know just how amazing they are, and just that they are enough. And I know I have struggled with that at times. And so we talk about a lot of things, right? We talk about, pulling the trigger and power of execution, and all those things are critical. It is necessary. That it has changed my life. But I know this one thing, that if you don't believe in you, none of that is going to matter. I found this quote. It says, sometimes the hardest part of the journey is believing you're worthy of the trip. That blew me away. And there's this other quote. Maya Angelou is quoted as saying, I do not trust people who don't love themselves and yet tell me I love you. There's an African saying which says, be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt. So we're gonna uncover some things this morning, and then hopefully what we do. Not hope. This is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about it, unpack it a bit, and then between this call and maybe another one, it probably will spill over to another one, end up talking about some steps, some key steps toward right-sizing the way we think about ourselves. So let's dig into it. So Michelle, talk to me about this. What, in your mind, what does the concept of self-worth mean to you? Why is it important at all that we are even talking about this?
Well, it's important because I think that's where everything stems from. A lot of times we try to do things outside ourselves. But self-worth to me is almost like a conviction, like you know for sure that you were designed to do what you do. And I think that's where sometimes I have missed it, of having that conviction, knowing what I was created and how I was created and what's on the inside of me. So that's self-worth to me, just a knowing, a conviction, and the importance of that. If I'm not convicted about who I am, then things that I try to do outside of myself, they may not last, or I'll pretend like I am convicted or I have that level of confidence, but after a while, the true me will come out and it'll fade away.
That's awesome. Hey, Jill, my pastor shared some time ago, he said that every decision we make, that we have ever made, is born out of our sense of self-worth. What does that mean to you? Why is this important? Why are we talking about it? What does that mean for you?
You know what? It's important because if we don't understand our worth, we will settle for less. We will settle for less than what we deserve. We will be in a relationship that don't value us because we don't value ourselves. We will take jobs.
You still there, Jill?
So that's what that means, Dawn.
Hey, say that. You broke up a little bit. Say that one more time.
I was going to say that.
You said you take jobs. Wait, go ahead. Say that again.
If you don't understand your value, you will accept less than what you deserve. You will take a job less than what you deserve. You will be in a relationship that does not value you, that's less than what you deserve because you don't know your own worth. So it is critical that we're talking about this today because it's time for us to get and claim what we own, Dawn.
Danita, there is this article I was reading. It says, your esteem is important because it has an impact on your life and your choices. And it says, and this was poignant for me. It said, your self-value is the source of your mental health. I know you talk a lot about that piece. When in varying segments, you talk a lot about that mental health piece, this sense of self-worth and your mental health. Talk to me about that. What is that? How does that resonate with you?
Dawn, for me, because I work with young people, I'm always trying to stay in tune with that because I think so many times I have to let them know of my own, where mine became and got robbed, my sense of self-worth, and how over the years I've had to gain it back. But I think one of the examples I give, if you don't mind, I was walking from a Metro Youth sports game with people live in Fort Wayne, and the captain, the cheerleading coach, had given me the captain position. And on the way home, the other girls who were my friends began to taunt, hit me, all kinds of stuff, and swore that they weren't going to listen to me. And, you know, I tell Jillian this story all the time, and how once I got home, near home, up at Adams Elementary, my sister was there, who, of course, most people didn't mess with. And so she, of course, saved the day by an altercation. But what I had to learn was, what happened to me on that day was, those young ladies may not know that they put a level of fear and a lack of self-worth in me due to their behavior and how they handled me. And that traveled throughout my life, throughout high school, not wanting to be a leader on teams, throughout college, in my career. And I've just began over the last 5 to 10 years, Dawn, really attacking that. And even as an adult, you know, over the last couple of weeks with things growing with Momentum Monday and Girls Rock, some of the hatred that has come across some of the social media sites and the different things that have been stated about Jill and I and the movement. It's difficult, Dawn, and if you don't, luckily now I have a sense of self-worth, because if I didn't, the words that people try to attempt to penetrate in your spirit will rob you. And so women need to understand, just because someone greater enters the room doesn't mean you have to then judge yourself as lower. That's not what it means.
That's awesome, and we're gonna get to that when we begin to talk about some steps. But we're gonna suggest that when you walk in the room, we can shine together. We don't have to prepare at all. We can shine together. We're gonna talk about that. But hey, Bishop, I understand the Bishop is on the call. Mark 12:29 through 31 talks about our love walk, and one of the most critical things it says is love others as well as you love yourself. I suggest, I mean, that to me is it's a mandate by our God for those who believe. And if you don't love you, then you can't love others right. Bishop, talk to me about that.
Well, the fact that you can't love others right does not mean you won't love them. If you love them the way you love yourself, that's exactly what would happen. So those who have any kind of self-image problem, you have a hard time valuing other people as well. So the first step is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, because people who can't love God don't know how to love themselves. He's the one who empowers us to love ourselves, and he's the one that we turn to help us love ourselves. Now, once we've mastered that, he will give us the grace to love ourselves even in spite of what we know about ourselves. And loving ourselves, Dr. Dawn, I tell you one thing is we have to start by forgiving ourselves.
That's good.
And so that's the beginning of I think, of loving ourselves, is forgiving ourselves of what we know we've done, how we know we've lived, because if any man be in Christ, he's a new creation. Old things have passed away, and all things have become new. So love the new you, even if you're having trouble with the old one.
Love the new you, even if you're having trouble with the old one. That's fire. That's fire. Yeah. Hey, this is Momentum Monday. This is Momentum Monday if you just joined us, so go to the Facebook page and let us know you're on the call. We're talking about knowing and honoring your worth. Before I move, love the new you, even if you're having trouble with the old one. Lynette, we're going, and I want everybody to chime in, but Lynette, what are some of the dangers then of not doing what Bishop just said?
Well, you know, when you don't have a sense of self-worth, it really is like carrying a sign on you. And the sign is just saying, I expect nothing from you. We teach people how to treat us. And first of all, how we treat ourselves really is the degree that other people would treat us. And so our self-worth is so important. And, you know, I just started thinking about, you know, just as a little girl growing up, a lot of times, you know, we do things wrong. We get in trouble. We make mistakes, even as adults. And sometimes we have a hard time separating what we do from who we are. Sometimes the things we do don't define us. Those are just things that happen, and we allow a lot of times for the things we do to define us. So if I do something that is quote unquote stupid or bad or make a mistake, that doesn't make me bad. And those things, when we have a hard time separating that, then it starts diminishing our self-worth and eating away at our self-esteem. So it is so important that we understand this. Because all the things, like you said, we talk about on Momentum Monday means nothing if the conversation, that the internal conversation inside is not protected and fed with positive things. You know, if we keep focusing on the things that we don't do right, or if we focus on the things that we do wrong, then that's the only thing that's going to manifest. We're going to look for ways to make those thoughts and things right. So we have to focus on what's right, all the things that are right, the positive things, and then our self-worth will grow.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That's awesome. Hey, Jill, I hear you. I feel you.
Oh, my goodness. So I'm thinking about this, right? We're talking about honoring your self-worth, and honestly, Dawn, if I could be transparent, this has been this is my area of struggle. And people will be surprised, right, because they see this A-type personality on stage all over the country. But there's this other person inside that I struggle with this. And I've been asking myself all night when I knew we were going to be talking about this, why do I struggle with this? What is the root cause? If you're on the call today, you got to ask yourself that question. And you can say you don't struggle with self-worth, but we already know by what we see in sometimes your actions or your behaviors. Like, for example, Dawn, for me, failure. Past failures constantly haunt me, and it messes with my worth. Bad decisions I made in the past, bad relationships I allowed myself to be in, things I allowed myself to do, a person who I should not have been, that old stuff sometimes, it revisits me, and it cripples me, and it paralyzes me sometimes, and it makes me question, do I deserve what's happening for me right now? Or sometimes it slows me down for pursuing what I know God is calling me to. So I'm just trying to bring another aspect to this thing because this is real. People deal with this every day. And I think, like Lynette said, we got to think about the why. What's the root cause? And for me, I know it's past mistakes and past decisions. But like Lynette said, I am not what I did. And Bishop said we need to forgive ourselves. Go ahead,
Tom. We are not our mistakes. We are not our mistakes. We are all growing. So in the spirit of transparency, better yet, in the spirit of freedom, for my co-hosts, and certainly to be open with the people on this call, I got a question for you, and I'll put myself out there first. But the question is, so what then do you think of you? And I'll go first. This is my Forrest Gump, my best Forrest Gump voice. My best good friend has shared something with me that really helped me. She was talking to me about this concept, and she talked about this idea that some point in our life we adopt and believe the lie, and the lie is different for all of us. It may be I'm not smart, or I'm ugly, or I don't deserve this, or I'm weak, or whatever it may be. Somewhere, it happened in your childhood, it could happen somewhere. And what happens then after that is that we begin to play host to the lie and make decisions because even though we know it may be a lie, we still take it on for whatever reason as our truth, and we live that thing out. And so I know when I think about that question, what do I think of me? I had to kind of really dig into that. And, if you've ever heard me talk, I've shared that, I've always thought for most of my, that I can remember, most of my life, certainly as my adult life until recently, thought I was ugly and fat and didn't really, and just not really much to offer beyond the fact that I was good at academics, that I was smart. And so I really, really, shied away from things, don't like pictures, all those sorts of things. And that got reinforced. I had relatives who would call me things. Sometimes, I got teased a lot, all kinds of things. So I was really, really insecure about me and the way I looked and all those sorts of things. And so it shaped decisions that I made and everything like that. So when I think about the question of what do I think about me now, what do I think of Dawn, I'm better. I'm so much better. Praise God. I'm so much better than I used to be. And I can say it like this. I now believe that I am who God says I am. But if I'm going to be real with you, my feelings haven't caught up yet, quite all the way. I'm working to become 100% in love with Dawn, but it's still a journey for me. But that's where I am. Talk to me. Where y'all at? What do you think of you? Danita.
Well, for me, Dawn, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, and one of the things that came up for me was, I'm reminded of hurting people hurt people. And, you can have all kind of gifting, but if you operate from a self-worth of your past hurt, it's evident. And so for me, even when I see it up on other people, I then have to ask myself, are you operating from a past hurt? Because most of the time that then becomes evident in the work that you do. So when I see myself, I'm a person that's beginning to see myself as beautiful, as amazing. But I think I slip back into my old thinking patterns when people who I assumed love me. See, I know what the enemy going to do. Those who dressed as the enemy, I'm real clear on them. But, Dawn, it's those that when they disguise themselves and they have been in my circle and I've loved them and they proclaim to love me, it is those that then mess with my self-worth because I value them. And when they devalue me or try to penetrate hurt in a sly, slick way, then I get altered. And, I have to be honest and naked with you guys. And so, I have to then continuously do that self-talk of, Danita, you are worthy. You are designed to have a seat at the table. And you're designed to love and give to your community. And loving and giving to your community in the way that I do is going to cost you. There's some cost with that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's awesome, Danita. So you what you're saying to everybody is that you're continuing to be a work in progress and loving you too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Lynette, what do you think of you?
Well, I am very intentional and deliberate about guarding my thoughts and my words. So this question that you're asking, I'm at the point now where I know that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Yeah. I think of I'm very intentional about, I put love notes to myself because I have to remind myself how bad to the bone I am. Because things do kind of sneak up, right, and want to tell you, oh, no, you're not this, you're not that, but, oh, I am beautiful. I am worthy, and I know it, and I would encourage everyone, put love notes to yourself, send yourself a text message, remind yourself that you are amazing. And I just love what Bishop said because he is so right. Love the new you, even if you're still having problems with the old you.
That's right.
Because the new you is tomorrow. It doesn't matter what the old you, okay, that's fine. I remember her. But the new you is what matters. So thank you, Bishop. I just want to shout that out again because I hope no one missed that. That was very powerful. And again, I am intentional about the words that I speak to myself, so we must make sure we are guarding our words and our thoughts. I can't say it enough.
Yeah. Miss Jill Green, what do you think of you? I know it's loaded. It's rough.
Well, last night when you asked me that question, I had to think about it because I'm going to be honest. The first words that came to mind were strong, goal-oriented, strategic, assertive, focus on getting stuff done. But that's all business stuff. That's my go-to, right? And I realized I hide behind those things, and that's the thing that I put out. But that came first. But then I said, wait a minute. What's with the other stuff? You know what? I'm a good mom. That's important to me. Right, so that's what I think of myself. I'm an amazing wife. I make sacrifices for my family. I have to stop it and rewrite that thing because I hide behind the business stuff because sometimes life ain't always peachy, right? So I cover up the not peachy life with the business stuff. So I can talk all day, Dawn, but that's what I think about me. I'm a good mom. I'm a good mom.
That's awesome. Bishop, the Bishop.
Yeah. Well, I've been listening, and I'm just really, really blessed by what I'm hearing. Like most people on the phone, I had a very tough childhood. Well, number one, we didn't have a lot of money, so people would label me poor. I was dark-skinned, didn't get haircuts as often as I needed them, so I was talked about in that regard. So early on, I had some real issues with liking me, not even talking about loving me, and overcame a lot of that as I got on through high school and college. athletic success contributed to some of my self-worth. But I hear people talking about what they think about themselves, and I just want to caution people to not stop there, because our thoughts change moment by moment. It's more important that we get to what we believe about ourselves, because that belief is deep-seated, and people usually can't talk you out of that. What you think, people try to, and they will tamper with your thoughts. But what you believe and what you know, that cannot be altered. So I believe that I am reflecting the greatness that God has called me to, and that if any human can do it, by God's grace, I can. People might be able to determine my price, but only I can determine my value. And just understand, you go into a store, you look for a price tag, that tells you what people expect. But you look at it and you'll say, but that's not worth that. So worth has to do with the actual value of something. Price is what people believe they can get for it. Don't let people discount your price because they don't recognize your value.
That's good. That's good. The whole hashtag is gonna be just replay what Bishop just said.
What he said.
Yeah, and he's moving us forward. Shelley, I'm coming to you, but he's moving us forward, because that's exactly, we can't stay here, because I don't care whatever it is we said. What do you think about you now? That's studying the temporal. We're gonna get to that place where we anchor ourselves in who we are, and what God says about us. But we gonna get there. But this is in the sense of freedom and letting people know. Shelley, bring us home. What do you think? What are your thoughts about you?
Well, I'm like Bishop. A lot of people think that just being dark-skinned, that's what people, bully you about or tease you about. But growing up, I used to be bullied and teased about my skin complexion being light-skinned, and I was teased about my height. And I didn't realize my skin texture until people kept talking about it. Because if you're in your skin, you're in your skin. You just move on. So because of all of that leading up, I had a complex, and I didn't feel good about it. I felt like I had to go backwards or let people shine and not just work behind the scenes. So I still do it to this day, but I'm working through that. And then I got into, I made a decision to get married. Wasn't the best decision, outside of my kids was great. But it was a lot of abuse, mentally and emotional abuse, and also physical abuse, where I believe what he was saying to me to be so. And it wasn't until I got out of that and started healing and getting the help that I need, I realized who I was in God and what I should be doing. So what I realized with who I am, when I forget who I am, first of all, when I forget who I am, that is a sign to me that I disconnected with my Father, the Creator, the God, because he tells us who we are, but sometimes we believe the hype. We believe that we're not enough. We're this, that, and the other, whatever the terminology that has been placed on us. And you know what? I know I am truly a woman of more. I know that I'm a good friend. I know that I'm a good woman, and to have me in your life is everything, man. And I don't say that braggadocious. I say
everything. Everything. That's it's everything.
Yeah. And the thing about that, Dr. Dawn, if I can't say that about me, that's why the Bible says that we have to encourage ourselves. And we talked about this. David had to be in some way in some bondage or some part in his life that he wasn't feeling great, or his circle of influence wasn't giving him what he needed. So David had to begin to encourage himself. And me talking the way that I'm talking, when I'm wooing, when I'm hyped, that's what I do for myself. And that helps me and reiterate what God says about me.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, I knew we are almost completely out of time. That's awesome. And I appreciate, I really want to say this. I thank you so much. Y'all on the call, you have no idea. That question's loaded because it requires us to put ourselves out there. But this doesn't work if we ain't real. And so I appreciate I appreciate so much each and every one of my co-hosts doing that and being true and honest with yourself, and by definition then moving yourself higher. So in the spirit of Momentum Mondays, of course, the whole goal for us is not to stay stationary or set in any regard. We're moving forward. And so there's absolutely no way that we're going to talk about this and unpack all this and not talk about steps or solutions to moving ourselves toward right believing. I like Bishop's phrasing, toward right believing. And so we're not going to have any opportunity to break them out, but I'm going to at least tell you what they are. So there are going to be 3 steps we're going to talk about on our next call. The first one's look inside in terms of right believing, getting yourself to the place where you think and believe about yourself the way you're supposed to.
Dawn, are you still there? Team, are you there?
I'm here.
I'm here.
Okay. I think we lost Dawn. She'll be back on. She was giving us the bullet points for what's coming up next week. Oh, my goodness. I don't know about you guys, but this has been an amazing call. And I'm actually sitting here just reflecting on this whole, honoring your own worth and knowing your worth. It is 8 o'clock on the dot, so we're out of time. I would like to just kind of open up the lines for 5 minutes, Lynette, so we can do the after call, and Dawn will jump back on with us. For those of you who are brand new to Momentum Monday, we have something called the after call, where you get a chance to talk and participate, where you get a chance to speak up and say, I love that, I have a question, etc. And so what happens is you're going to hit *6 to unmute your line and you can share. So, Lynette, can you open up the line for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you'd like to participate, all you have to do is you can just start talking and just say, excuse me, and we'll hear you. Unmute your line hitting *6, and that will allow you to participate. But Dawn led us into an amazing discussion about honoring your own worth or understanding your self-worth. And Bishop, I was thinking back to a time when I was in 3rd grade, and I don't think I've shared this publicly on this call, but, one of my areas of struggle is numbers. And I've never said this out loud on this call. And I remember in 3rd grade, they were doing something called ciphering, where they have you go up to the board and you race math problems. Well, I wasn't very good at math. In my mind, I didn't think that. So I went up to the board, and the person that I raced in that particular math competition beat me like crazy. And everybody laughed, and it was awful. It was humiliating. And the teacher said to the class, don't laugh. Jill's just not good in math. And when she said that thing took root in my spirit. And from that day on, I began to repeat, I'm just not good with numbers. I'm just not good with math. And that thing attached itself to my value and what I thought I was worth. And, Bishop, every time something came up in my life, I remember being on a job interview, and they made me take a test. And there was a math component to it. I killed the interview, but they put that math test in front of me, and it was basic math. I became paralyzed because I began to reflect back on those moments when I felt like I was failing with numbers and failing in math. And then every other thing that happened moving forward, I went back to that place, and it began to impact my confidence. Bishop, does that make sense?
It absolutely does. Seeds that are planted in deep soil will eventually grow. And I think a lot of times we have latent seeds of discouragement in our lives, and we don't realize they're there. We really need to uproot those things, because you can't ever expect to plant a seed and not expect that sometimes it will grow. Different seeds have different seasons, so it may grow and sprout up at the time you least expect it, at a time when it's most disruptive.
Hey, and Jill, the thing about that is we know that seed may be corrupt. The seed is bad. We know for sure what it is. But why do we allow it to penetrate us? When we know it doesn't feel good, we know what it looks like. But we allow the negative to penetrate before we even let good penetrate us. Why is that?
Well, you know what?
I'm back, by the way. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think it's because sometimes it happens when we're so young, we don't know to reject it. And Dawn, I'd love for you to jump in. Did you hear my story I was sharing?
Girl, I didn't hear anything. I think it was a conspiracy, but that's all right. I found another phone back home.
I know, right? Well, I was just sharing how I think that some root things from our childhood impact our self-worth, our current self-worth today. And, you know, and I had an issue with math and numbers when I was younger. And I had a public failure, and the teacher confirmed in front of the whole class, but don't laugh at Jill, she's just not good at math. And that thing, it's like she sealed it. And from then on, I just accepted I wasn't good at math, and it was so easy for me to accept I wasn't good at other things, and then began to impact my confidence greatly, as an adult even. And so Michelle's like, well, why do we so easily, you know, accept some things we know that aren't true? And what you came in on, I was saying that sometimes I think either we're too young in age or we're too young emotionally to reject sometimes those things that are planted.
No, you're exactly right, and forgive me, everybody. I mean, the call literally just dropped, but that's all right. We keep it moving. So you're exactly right, and I think it's something. Danita had brought up a point. We were talking about this before about how critical it is that we speak, and we'll talk about this when we unpack things more next week. But that we undo the thing that you experienced. You know, that we as adults speak to our children, speak to the children who are in our midst. Even if they're not the ones born of us, speak to who they are inside, who they were created to be from jump, not what's surrounding them or their circumstances, where they live or whatever. Speak to their spirit, if you will, because of what you're talking about. When I say that I thought I was fat and ugly and all those things, that didn't come just because I decided to wake up one day and decide to think badly of myself. I had an aunt who told me that every time she saw me. Every time. I so wanted her to, at the time, the way I processed it, love me. That's the only thing she ever said to me. We go over there and play. She'd be like, "You too fat to do this. I'd give you my clothes, but you're too fat to do that." I would get that all the time. And it messed with you. And then, you know, and what's so funny, if you don't stop it, you know, it will perpetuate generation after generation. Because, you know, my mother couldn't speak to me sometimes to undo that because she suffered in that regard. She had the same sorts of she took the same shot, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's critical. Yeah. And so that's why I want to talk about next week when we get on it. The first step, I mean, really what I want to say is, you know, look inside before it got cut off. That the concept of our sufficiency comes from Christ's sufficiency, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We were put together in secret, that in him we can do anything, that we are winners, that we are dominant. All those things, that's a look inside. That's what I think. I mean, we're going to start unpacking that a bit and get through these steps so that we can start thinking right about ourselves. Because when we think right about ourselves, man, how we love others, how we love others will make a difference in this world like no other. I dare, you know, and so that's all I was trying to say. I know we are so out of time.
Well, Dawn, what we did was we opened it up for the after call. So so we're actually in the after call, and so I opened up the lines for anybody who wants to share or say anything. I'm getting a couple inbox messages, and I know sometimes that people don't want to talk out loud. So let's see. I'm reading some of the ones that come in. I want to encourage people, too, on the line, before next week call, reflect back on what you might think is holding your self-worth hostage. Like Dawn, when Dawn said she would talk about this, I was scared because I knew I was going to start looking back. And Dawn, you talked about, being called fat. Bishop talked about being called dark. Michelle talked about being called light. We all had something, and to other people it may seem small and irrelevant, like, what, girl, you're fine. But that thing is huge and real for you, and that impacts your worth today. You know, Dawn, when I was a younger girl, I had a severe acne problem. It was bad. I mean, my forehead was covered. It was horrible. And I remember a girl being it was in middle school when I was standing in the hallway. And I remember this guy walked by and said, Jill got bumps on her face. Girl, that thing, it was like a knife through I was so embarrassed. And I remember that day I began walking with my head down. I'll never forget it. And I was trying to pull my bang over my forehead. It wasn't even long enough to do that. But I was trying to pull my bang over my forehead because I was ashamed. And I didn't want people to see it. And then I remember in college, girl, I was trying out for this I wanted to be like a news reporter on campus or whatever, and I was waiting in the back to go on to pretend like I was covering a story. And I heard these people behind the curtain, they were talking about me, and they said, well, Jill, she can speak real well, but her skin is terrible. They'll never put her on camera. We talk about, it hurts. Now, for some people, they may say, girl, get over it. That's no big thing. But for me, that thing shot my confidence to the basement. And now here I got them. Not doing numbers. You hear where I'm going, Dawn?
Yeah, everybody has a thing. I mean, somebody wanted to chime in. Is that Denise? I don't know who's still on the after call.
Yeah.
Everybody has a thing. If it's not your physical appearance, it's something. There's something. Because the way you vet it out, the way you dime it out, if you will, is that it goes back to that statement I made about the lie. Because you start reacting a certain way. Like, so if you believe the lie, like for me, one of my things, not just physical stuff, but, you know, I don't like I have this thing about feeling like I'm marginalized, right? You ain't going to punk me, right? That comes from somewhere. That comes from I'm sometimes fighting, ain't nobody there. Mm-hmm. And so I'll have these conversations sometimes, and I have to step back and like, why do you react like that, Dawn? Where'd that come from? There's something I believed about myself that's lower than who I really am. And I'm still holding on to that. And so I fight. And then people look at me like, why are you angry? Or why are you so aggressive about this? And I want to make it about the thing, but it's not about the thing. For some things, for me, it's because my dad walked out when I was 4. You know, and I have to own that stuff so that I can be the best woman, be my best self. And that is that's big girl pants all day long. And it's hard, but it's necessary to get to the success that we talk about all the time on these calls.
But I think, Dr. Dawn, that's the one thing that with young people, we have to, a lot of what we talk about today is the more reactive, but I think the proactive approach that's needed is really looking at and teaching kids how to deal with hurting people. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you. I mean, as an adult, we're still trying to, like you said, deal with people who was hurt from their past and their childhood. And if you don't learn how to maneuver those kind of things as a young person, then you grow up as the adults that we are on the phone, and when people who are acting out of their hurt and their pain and their past do things, then it takes you off your square. And, you know, like Michelle said on the call earlier, I know who I am. See, that has been birthed from something. And so a lot of our kids need to be equipped to know who they are, because the hurting people going to come across your path. Trust me. They walking across mine this last week or two. But what I'm learning is to identify that that's what it is. That ain't me. That's them. That's their issue. But if you don't have that kind of foundation, and I'm starting to encounter some young people, Dawn, who have it. People are putting that into their young people's lives because they realize at all levels, like you said, some of this, we dealing with her from elementary, middle school, high school, but when you get some parents and some coaches and some mentors around you at a young age and some leaders or pastors who are weekly, daily telling you, you've got to be able to identify this in people. And then you have a better understanding of different lens of this is not my issue, and so I don't want to take it on. So I'm proud of us today because I think this was an on-time word for a lot of people who are trying to lead something in their cities and in their life.
Hey, Danita, I agree with you because that's what I was going to say, and that's why your organization is so important because you're dealing with the girls. And I think sometimes we as women, and I know men as well, but I'm going to speak to the women, sometimes we lead from that pain and experience that we have, and sometimes it flows into our children. I know maybe 2 weeks ago, unfortunately, my youngest daughter, a girl pretty much attacked her in school for just having a difference of opinion, where this girl brutally was hitting my daughter, like banging her head on the table, and I was heated about it. Now, I shared that with some people, and the first thing they said, are you going to press charges? That wasn't my first thought. My first thought, of course, this is my daughter, okay. What are we going to do on her behalf? And then what's wrong with the young lady that took it to that level? And sometimes we as mothers, we're operating as mothers like telling our daughters this, that, and the other, but it's really not. We don't hold that conviction within ourselves. So we do need to make sure that our daughters know their self-worth. But sometimes, Anita and Dr. Dawn, Jill, Lynette, the bishop, sometimes women, we as women, we could be so nasty. We could be so sassy with each other because we're taking on what we were as little girls and in that teenage life, and we operate from that place as women. And it's just it's so bad, but we really need to change that and really begin to deal with things so we can operate in our authentic self and who we were designed to be. I know for sure that Jill Jordan Green don't have a lot of drama around her. Her choosing is intentional, and that's how we have to be. So when we connect ourselves with people, we have to make sure that we're whole. We're challenging each other to be better. It is okay for another woman to be different. It is okay for you to have a different purpose outside of my purpose. It's okay. It's okay. And it has nothing to do with us, but we don't know how to celebrate each other.
We that is awesome, and that can't be said enough. Thank you, Michelle. We got somebody that wants to speak. Somebody from a 678 area code. If you're unmuted, go ahead and chime in. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Dawn. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, Bishop. This is Roxanne. I'm calling from Texas. I'm out here on business. I'm a single parent of a 12-year-old, handsome, wonderful young man. When he started middle school this year, we sat down and we had a small talk, and I keep the talks short so as to not overload him. And I explained to him that middle school is the time for change in every child in the school. You are battling being in a new environment, meeting new people, making new friends, and you're also you're being challenged by your own body. Things are happening. You're going through puberty. So we had to talk about puberty. We had to talk about how people were raised. We had to talk about different attitudes. And we had a major talk about being himself. I told him, and I'm still explaining to him the phrase of you are the head and not the tail. He's starting to get it. He was like, does that mean I have to lead everybody? No, you don't have to lead everybody, but you don't have to follow everybody either. If you be who you are and you stand on what you know and you think and you believe, people who are of the like mindset may follow or they may agree, but you don't have to make anybody come with you. You just continue to be who you are. So far, so good. And I've tried to express and explain to him that children are brutally honest to a point where it hurts your feelings. They don't mean to be, but the first thing that comes into their head is what they see, is what they say. So if you have somebody say something to you and it hurts your feelings, come talk to me so I can try and help you get through it. He doesn't do it because he's a 12-year-old boy and I'm not. And, we go through this thing of, what's going on, nothing.
Right.
But then I can see that there's something bothering him. And the other part of my knowing that is his attitude is our birthdays are 4 days apart. So when he gets into his I'm mad, but I don't know why I'm mad, I have to be the bigger person and not be mommy and just be like, okay, when you get ready to talk, let me know.
That's awesome, Roxanne. That's awesome. I'm sorry, dear. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, he's done that several times. And I'm like, I see you're upset. I don't know if you're mad at me or if you're mad at something. But when you get ready, just say, I'm ready to talk. And I've often told him I can be in mommy mode or I can be in not mommy mode. I'm not saying I'm his friend, but I can be in not mommy mode. And he was like, okay, I need you to not be in mommy mode because I need to talk. And I let him say what's on his mind, what's on his heart, and I let him get his feelings out so that he can understand and know that he's being heard and not being talked at from his mom. And so far, we're on a good way. We're in a good way.
That's good. That's good. And you know what, Roxanne, thank you for sharing. So two things that just real quick that come to mind what you just said. One, someone taught me a long time ago with my boys. I have two boys, a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. So I feel you. But two when they were really little, another mom taught me. She's like, hey, you speak to that spirit. At that time they couldn't talk. You speak to that spirit in those children. You speak to them even when they can't hear you or when they can't respond. I think the same is true because, man, teenagers sometimes can't hear you and stuff either. So, you keep speaking life into him and over him and declaring who he is. There's this song that says, Lord, I'm amazed. We sang it yesterday, and it talks about, God, you dance over me while I'm unaware. Sometimes I walk through my boys' room when they're asleep, and I speak life over them because I believe it's penetrating. So keep doing that. But then secondly, know that you pat yourself on the back, Mom, because you're doing an amazing work in speaking and doing the work that Danita talked about, that Jill and Michelle and Annette and Bishop talked about in terms of on purpose, talking to their worth and value, not speaking to the circumstances or the things surrounding them, but talking to him about who he is. And so keep doing that. You are being exactly what we're talking about. You will make such a difference, and his story will be so different because you're endeavoring to do that now. So I applaud you, certainly. Is there anybody else that wants to say anything? Or I don't know. We could be on here till like 11 o'clock tonight if we let it. So I know that the after call has to end at some point, but I want to make sure.
Dawn. The only thing I wanted to say to the mom was, speak and walk it. I have a 24 and a 28-year-old, and the most profound thing that I think I did was, instead of not just talking it, but being it, really walking in. Having a sense of self-worth. And so making sure that when relationships became unhealthy, they could see me. My boys could see me, say, not for me. When friendships became that, they could see me, identify, talk through it, and in a healthy way walk away from the process. So I think it's so important for our young people because they like a sponge, and so they absorb what they see. And a lot of times we want to live a havoc life and expect to produce God's great fruit. But I think continue living a very healthy life, and that is one of the biggest things and biggest moments for me as a mom with adult men is that they witness that. So even in the highs and the lows, they know that they know how to be a good person because I showed them.
That's good. That's good. Very good. Jill, I think we hit it. Have we hit the time?
Yes, we're actually we were going to go like 5 to 10 minutes, but this got so good, okay. So we're definitely out of time. But this has been awesome, Dawn. I want to say thank you for being sensitive to hear what we all need right now, and we all can relate to this amazing topic. And I'm looking forward to next week. And guess what? 90% of the calls are still on the call. Like, people still have not hung up. They're still on, which means people are enjoying this. Dawn, I will say this, because I don't want this person to feel like I am not acknowledging their concern. I did receive an inbox from someone who says it was mentioned on the call that we're not our mistake. Well, she says, I find for me that it's hard for me to remember my own self-worth when people are so quick to cut you off when you make a mistake. People are so quick to say, I love myself too much to deal with that person who hurt me. But what about forgiveness and recognizing the fact that the person, too, is not their mistake, right? So how do we come back from people treating us like we are our mistake? I would ask this for myself when I'm at work. So,
wow.
Yeah,
wow. That's deep. I mean, we certainly are going to try and endeavor. I mean, we're all walking this journey out together, right? So we're going to try our best to, with the leading of the Holy Spirit, allow us to unpack that and deal with that next week and talking about steps and looking inside. I mean, I think that really is the answer. I mean, because honestly, you can't change another person. You can't change another person. You really, really can. I can pay penance all day and give you money and do all the things that I think may convince you to love me, or better yet, to let me off the hook. But I had to get to a place, and I remember one of the last times that this kind of thing encountered. It was something I was so ashamed of that I had done in my past. So ashamed. I mean, you didn't have to beat me up. I beat myself up more than anybody else did. And I remember someone threw that in my face. They were mad at me, and they threw it in my face. What if I tell people what you did? And I was like sitting there, and it was funny because it'd been such a journey to get to a place of wholeness for me with this thing. And I remember looking at them, and I was like, you know what? my God has let me off the hook. He forgave me before I even had days. I'll be daggone if I'm going to let you put me back up there on that cross.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a focus thing. It was, but it took time because it's hard, because you really, really wonder, you look at them like, why are you still holding me there? And the reality of it is, there could be 1,000,001 reasons. The way they feel about themselves, whatever it may be, but you can't change them. But we can for sure change us and the way we see us. And that's why I felt so strongly about this, because if you start thinking about yourself the right way, then those things, I don't need to wait for you to forgive me. That's on you. Let it go or don't. That's on you. But I am going to walk in my truth to who God says I am. And so that's what I hope we get to today. So whomever posted that, I hope that helps a little bit, and certainly encourage them to come back next week, and let's hope, let's do some work and chime in and get about the business of owning our greatness.
Absolutely. We're out of time. Dawn, thank you again for leading us. I look forward to next week's call as you lead us again. Thanks to our amazing co-hosts who have shared and been very transparent this morning. And thanks to all of you who are chiming in with us on Momentum Monday. And let's continue to pull that trigger. Make sure you post today what you're doing to pull the trigger on, and use the hashtag #TriggerPulls if you did it. Or if you're telling us what you're going to do, go ahead and hashtag Trigger Challenge. I love you guys. We're out of time. Have a great day. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Happy Monday.